Bitcoiners like me or Michael Saylor or Bill Miller, for that matter, who's on this chat, right? I think we don't care where the Bitcoin's bought. We don't care if you buy it in an ETF, if you buy shares of MicroStrategy and they buy the Bitcoin. My view is Bitcoin doesn't need the ETF. It doesn't need it. Bitcoin's going to go to 1 million regardless of the ETF.
In a recent debate, mathematician Fred Krueger expressed his bullish outlook on Bitcoin, asserting that it doesn't need ETFs to reach $1 million. Prominent Bitcoin advocates like Krueger, Michael Saylor, and Bill Miller showcased the growing acceptance and confidence in Bitcoin. With at least 100 million Bitcoin owners, the user base is significant and expanding. An article on CoinTelegraph predicts Bitcoin will hit $330,000 this bull cycle. Independent market analyst Arsen remains confident despite Bitcoin's recent price dip, forecasting a significant rebound to $330,000. Arsen notes that smart money, including institutional investors and market experts, has been accumulating Bitcoin during the recent correction, indicating a long-term bullish outlook. While some analysts like Marcus Thielen and Michael Van de Poppy foresee a short-term drop to around $50,000 to $52,800 due to bearish patterns, most remain optimistic about a long-term bull scenario. IO analyst ABS32 predicts a correction until October, followed by a 300% rally into 2026. With that said, let's take a look at some clips from Fred Krueger's video update.
Stop. You don't have time. Don't miss out this 2025 bull run. Educate yourself first ahead of the crowd. We have created the ultimate step-by-step crypto cheat guide that will guide you this bull run. Unlock the secrets of crypto and make smarter investments today. Now by clicking on the link below to get your exclusive copy just under $10.
This enormous ecosystem that ETH has been saying. And you really, at the end of the day, what are the top apps on ETH? I can tell you what they are, okay? They're Uniswap, right?
Right.
And there are OpenSea for trading NFTs.
Right.
And that's it. Let's throw in the lending. Okay, let's just throw in Aave. Okay. Those three are all, the rest is garbage. It's like noise. It doesn't matter, right? You've got lending, you've got NFTs, and you've got DEXs. Okay. So you got all those things on ETH, and and by the way, I've been following these numbers since 2017. Okay. And guess what? In 2017, that daily number was 50, 60,000. Okay. 70,000. Now, the ETH heads will say, well, most of that money, that activity has gone to Arbitrum and light layer twos. And to some extent, they're right. But my point is that is not a significant number in terms of number of actual people. Okay. Now, let's just put this in retro. There are at least 100 million people who own Bitcoin. Okay. Now, and I've heard you say this, they're kind of passive, right? They're guys like me. They just buy Bitcoin and they don't do anything with it, right? We're not. Right. I'm actually one of the few people in the Bitcoin ecosystem that uses Bitcoin all the time. Okay. I do, because I use it for all this stuff. And I'm very interested, and I can tell you, I'm very much on top of all this Bitcoin layer 2s and DeFi and all this stuff. I know everything about it, okay? As well as I know everything about these proposals like OpCat or OpCTV or whatever, right? So I can tell you a lot about that. But that's not going to make a major dent on Bitcoin adoption, right? Because here's the thing. What Bitcoin is being used, and it's always been used for chunky transactions, right? So if you look at the size of Bitcoin transactions and you look at them in the 2009 to 2013 period, there were between 10 and 100 Bitcoin per transaction. That's what it was, okay? In the end of 2013, Bitcoin got to about $1,000, right? Okay, so 10 Bitcoin up at that point was $10,000, right? So, we're talking in the thousands of dollars per transaction. That's always what Bitcoin has been. Now, if you go from 2017 to 2020, that number was reduced to 1 Bitcoin per transaction on average. And right now, we're at about 0.1 Bitcoin per transaction, right? So Bitcoin is not used for games. It's not used for DEXs. It's not used for NFTs, right? Very much. Although ordinals right now, by the way, in terms of raw number of transactions, at one point it was half of Bitcoin, right? Now it's actually now 6% only of Bitcoin, right? Right. I looked at the numbers a week ago. So it's only about 6% of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is mainly right now its use case is I've got some money. I want to take it out of the banking system. I want to take it out of the financial system. I want to park it for a little bit and I want to move it somewhere else. That's the use case of Bitcoin.
Historically, Bitcoin has been used for large transactions. From 2009 to 2013, transactions typically involved 10 to 100 Bitcoins. As Bitcoin's price increased, the average transaction size decreased. Between 2017 and 2020, the average transaction was about 1 Bitcoin, and currently, it's around 0.1 Bitcoin. Fred Krueger believes Bitcoin is not commonly used for smaller transactions, such as those in gaming, decentralized exchanges, or NFTs. Its primary use case is for moving large sums of money out of the traditional banking system and into a decentralized one, allowing users to park their funds temporarily or move them elsewhere. Now, let's return to what Fred Krueger has to say.
Let me explain this power law, okay? So, if you look at this power law, you have two axes, right? And on the vertical axis, I'm plotting Bitcoin, but I'm plotting it on a logarithmic basis, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm very familiar with log charts. I'm also familiar with log charts.
Exactly. But here, this is not just a log chart, it's a log chart. So the time is also on a logarithmic scale.
We're very familiar with that too. Okay.
Okay, great. So if you look here, the green line is a trend line. Okay.
Okay.
This trend line has an R squared of 96%, depending
until
on
it doesn't.
Well, it has an R squared of 96% spread over 6 orders of magnitude from when Bitcoin was at 10 cents to when Bitcoin is at about 100,000. Okay. All I can tell you is I have a PhD in math, and I can tell you that you will never see such a chart ever in anything with that kind of numbers. Okay. And if you look at the red line, which is the sort of the support line, which is sort of one standard deviation in log space under the green line, it is hard to unsee this graph, right? So you could say it's just a model. The adoption of Bitcoin is growing as a power of time as well. Okay. So if you look at how many people are buying a Bitcoin over time, let me pull you up. This little graph here, okay, is the amount of people who have 1 Bitcoin over time, expressed in log space. It has a 98% correlation with time. What is that telling you? That tells you there is more and more and more and more people who are buying Bitcoin over time. Good markets, bad markets, they're buying Bitcoin. So it's not just a model that's based on nothing. We've just observed this thing like, we're tracking fruit flies and we noticed this correlation between fruit flies and the Bitcoin price. No, we have this clear model that people are buying Bitcoin. Now, I could do 1 Bitcoin, I could do $1,000, I could do $100, I could do 10 Bitcoin. I can do any of these things. I all get these power laws. Okay. So it's very clear that the adoption of Bitcoin has happened.
Krueger explains that the number of people owning at least 1 Bitcoin has steadily increased regardless of market conditions. This trend, depicted on a logarithmic graph, shows a robust 98% correlation with time, indicating consistent growth in Bitcoin adoption. He emphasizes that this observation is grounded in real data, not just theoretical models. Krueger highlights that this pattern holds true across different ownership levels, whether it's 1 Bitcoin, $1,000 worth, or 10 Bitcoins. He concludes by asserting that Bitcoin adoption is not merely underway but has already occurred in the past. For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.